Hi, I'm Don Beyer, and I'm your humble congressman from Northern Virginia. A privilege to represent you. And our country is a much better place than it was 2 years ago, but there's much more that we can do. I've been focused on delivering results to our district. Since I was first elected 18 years ago, my office has completed more than 13,000 constituent service cases, most with federal agencies, with the IRS, Social Security. We've recovered more than $10 million for our constituents' benefit. This year, I secured millions of dollars in federal funds for local projects, largely driven by our locally elected leaders. Things like addressing flooding in Northern Virginia, expanding our electric vehicle infrastructure, funding for Arlington's mental health services, addressing airplane noise, and much, much more. As your congressman, I've helped craft and enact landmark legislation, including things like the COVID Relief Act, the CARES Act, the American Rescue Plan, which funded our national vaccine strategy, the direct economic impact payments, and for most Americans, the enhanced child tax credit. I've also made halting gun violence a focus of my work in Congress. I voted for universal background checks, I led the fight for red flag laws, and I strongly support the assault weapons ban. I recently introduced legislation to restrict the purchase of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, a special 1,000% excise tax, which could bypass the filibuster and only need 50 votes in the Senate. Last year, President Biden signed my hate crime prevention legislation, the Beyer No Hate Act, into law. I was there at the White House with him, and I helped write legislation that launched the new National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988. But there's much more that we need to do to achieve a just and equitable America. Too many of our fellow citizens are struggling with affordable housing, especially in Northern Virginia, and with childcare, which can cost more than $17,000 after tax per child per year. The high cost of healthcare, drug prices out of control, these threaten all lives, as does gun violence, and climate change endangers all life on Earth. To solve these problems, we need to do everything we can to re-elect to keep our Democratic majority in the U.S. House and to add to that majority in the Senate. Election day is November 8th. It's coming very quickly, and I hope you make a plan to vote. We have 3 endangered Democratic women in Virginia, Jennifer Wexton, Abigail Spanberger, Elaine Luria. They, too, desperately need your help. Our friends in Richmond and the General Assembly continue to pass legislation to make voting easier, to make early voting much more accessible. And for the first time ever in Virginia this year, we're going to have same-day election registration. So early voting, though, is the best way to avoid lines. In the primary we just had on June 21st, a whopping percentage of our voters voted early. So starting September 23rd, you can vote in person, or you can request a ballot by mail. For more information on how to vote or how to find an early voting location, you can go to my website at friends@donbeyer.com. I hope you'll make your voice heard in the midterm. Typically, this is the election when the smallest percentage of voters show up, but it is critically important that we hold the U.S. House, we build on our majority, our 50-50 majority in the Senate. I'd be honored to have your support in my campaign for Congress. And thanks for all you do to save, restore, and strengthen our American democracy.